Hello, I'm Dr. Vicky Cleek and I'm a consultant psychiatrist with a special interest in adult ADHD. And today we're going to talk about the onset of periods and the effect this has on ADHD and vice versa. This is an important subject because often looking back at an adult's history, the first time a woman has experienced any mental health difficulties often coincides with the beginning of puberty and the onset of their periods, and that's particularly common in those patients I see who have got underlying ADHD. And this is because of a relationship between dopamine and estrogen levels which significantly drop during the menstrual cycle. We also know that girls' puberty tends to coincide with the transition from primary school to secondary school, which comes with its own challenges, including moving to a bigger school with more complex social interactions and relationships. When you go to secondary school, you are no longer in the same classroom, you have a timetable, you're expected to move from one classroom to another, bringing the right equipment with you, needing better time management for that. And of course, those things, that organisation and time management, can be particularly challenging for those with ADHD, and particularly for girls that don't have any really helpful social scaffolding. So often that's in terms of parents organising their school bag, helping them on a day-to-day basis, ensuring they've got the right equipment, but also in terms of friends. So, you know, if you've got helpful, supportive friends that will lend you a pencil if you've forgotten one, or you or you tag along with them to the right classroom, then you're going to have less problems than if you don't have that. So we know that your ADHD symptoms change significantly for some people with ADHD during their menstrual cycle, and this is because of the changes in your hormones, mainly your estrogen and your progesterone levels. So when you go through a low estrogen and high progesterone phase, which is usually in that week coming up to your period, called the luteal phase, your ADHD symptoms are often worse. You're more scatty, forgetful, concentration is not so good, and it can be very noticeable to others as well as yourself. It also can be associated with higher levels of impulsivity, and that can mean that some girls would be more at risk of self-harm, even suicide attempts in that week prior to their period. Equally, once your period has started and you go back to day one of your menstrual cycle, beginning of your period, then often the symptoms resolve and you get back to your baseline ADHD symptoms at that point. So there's a bilateral effect of periods on ADHD and ADHD on your ability to cope with and manage your periods. Any female, even without ADHD, often finds that they are more moody in that week prior to their period starting, and their emotional regulation is not as great. If you have ADHD, often you find that emotional dysregulation is even more intense. As I've just mentioned, any hormonal changes and associated physical discomfort during your menstruation can have an impact on your cognitive performance. So if you get really severe period pain, for example, that can be more of a problem for those with ADHD, as well as the potentially worsening ADHD difficulties in terms of attention, memory and executive functioning. And of course, if you've got ADHD, then self-care may be more of a challenge. So you may not have prepared for your period and not have the right, you might not have brought your pads or tampons with you, and thus, you know, that can put you in an embarrassing situation. and that leads to increased stress. So ADHD symptoms such as impulsivity and inattention may contribute to hormonal dysregulation, particularly affecting the timing and regularity of your periods. Those girls with ADHD may experience heightened emotional difficulties, which can impact the onset and experience of the period itself. And poor executive functioning skills associated with ADHD, such as planning and organisation, may contribute to challenges in managing your menstrual hygiene and adapting to the physical and emotional changes during your periods and your menstrual cycle. And of course, there's the social and self-esteem issues. So ADHD related social difficulties and low self-esteem may be exacerbated during the period of transition into puberty, impacting a girl's overall well-being and adjustment to all of the changes. And as I said at the beginning, all of this may coincide with them moving into secondary school, with all the changes in routine and a much more busy schedule, which usually in secondary school step up in responsibilities in finding your classroom, having homework that you need to manage in terms of time management and having the right equipment with you. And all of this can be more of a challenge for those girls with ADHD around the time of their puberty, as well as particularly in the time preceding their period. So in summary, the onset of puberty is a really challenging time for all girls, but particularly those with ADHD, as it coincides with significant changes socially and at school, as well as in terms of hormonal changes, which, as we have seen, significantly impact on the ADHD presentation with exacerbation of symptoms. And this, unfortunately, can often coincide and cause potentially new presentations of mental health problems, including anxiety and low mood. So in thinking back to your own life, what have you noticed about your ADHD symptoms when considering your menstrual cycle? Did you notice that the week before you start your period that you struggle more with your core ADHD symptoms, including emotional dysregulation, organisational skills and time management, and impulsivity? And if so, what did you do or can you do to change or manage this? And this is where you might find it quite helpful to download the Women's Guide to ADHD Mastery from our website, drvickycleek.co.uk. It's completely free and you can print it out yourself, and it looks like this. And one of the pages is about self-reflections. How did ADHD show up in different areas and times of your life? And there's a section on periods and puberty at the top. So I hope you found this video helpful and it's helped you to reflect back on your life and put some perhaps of the scattered jigsaw pieces into place for you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.